ones. Welcome back to the Wild Rose podcast. I'm Whitney Rose.
I'm Connie Daniels. Today we have a very, very special guest. She's very close and very dear to my heart. She's also very close and dear now to Whitney's heart because she is my daughter, Jenica.
And Whitney's.
Yes. And she
Basically.
is like my adopted daughter. If we were Catholic, I'd be your godmother, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm her godmother.
Godmother. You're two moms.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait, is Connie on board for this? Jenica's on board. I'm her godmother.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I am.
You questioned
I'm on
that.
board.
Yeah.
Well, I just was trying to think like how it goes.
I think the godmother you select.
I would select you.
It'd be like pretty much if, God forbid, something happened to you, I would take over as Jenica's mom.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, Jenica?
At 19. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's right. I guess
She's going to college and like, here's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Here's your fruit snacks.
happy first day.
Wow, we're off to a good start. Okay. ADD
Yes,
brains.
no, we had so much fun with our guest.
With Margot.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. That we thought it would be really fun to have our own kids come on. So we decided we were going to start with Jenica today. My son, I guess he's busy. He's too busy. He's 21. He's too cool for us. So,
Yeah.
but Jenica, I thought you were too cool, but you're chilling with us today.
Oh, I'm never too cool.
This
you guys
is like
taught me
having
cool.
Rihanna in the house because Jenica doesn't just show up for stuff anymore. Like she is a big deal. She's a big deal.
She's a
Dill.
big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you guys for having me, my moms. Oh.
After our episode with Margaret, and we're talking about parenting, like reality versus what experts say, we thought it'd be really funny to just bring you on to see like what you really think.
Yeah, because
like,
sometimes we think we have it figured out and we think we're doing everything right as moms and parents. But how often do we stop and ask our kids how we're doing and what they think and making their opinion matter? Because we might think we're doing everything right. I mean, no one thinks they're doing everything right. I don't think unless you're a narcissist. But
well, I think if it's working and there's not mass chaos, you think, okay,
you think
this is working.
Going.
Like,
yeah, but is it working?
It
So.
could just look like it's working, though.
see, and that's what we want to hear, Jenica.
Oh, I know all the dirty little secrets.
Okay, well, don't make me regret having you on here. Don't share everything.
Not about you.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. Jenica and I have a very open and honest relationship with each other. I created that because it was important to me to have a close relationship that I could talk to you about anything. Because for me, I didn't really feel like I could talk to my mom about anything. I mean, anything and everything. I could talk to my mom, but
And I'm going to be the
saying?
interviewer. Jenica, do you agree?
Yes, I agree. It took a long time, though,
It
honestly.
did.
But
Well, let's
it was
talk about that.
necessary.
I love your relationship. It actually, I think it inspires me to be that with Bobby as well. So
Yeah.
It's definitely evolved into this.
Yeah.
Because when you were Bobby's age, Bobby is 13?
she's 12.
Oh, she's 12.
She's much like Jenica. That's why they're
Like
like,
an old soul?
well, there's like not blood, but your sisters. Like Jenica, I feel like is paving the way for Bobby, and Bobby really does take after Jenica in a lot of ways. And same with Josh and Brooks. It's like
Isn't
uncanny.
that- I
It's-
know.
Is that
So let's explain that.
Yeah.
So our boys are very tech savvy, a little bit introverted, keep to themselves, but they homebodies. Yeah. So it's so crazy for me having like an adult son and talking to Whitney about her little
He's
boy.
10.
Is he 10?
He just turned 10.
Oh my gosh. But I feel like I'm almost having flashbacks of a little bit more evolved in some ways, little tech boy of Josh. And hopefully seeing Josh like evolve and become who he is, like you're like, oh, okay. Because I don't know. As now we're talking about Josh. Josh isn't
but
even here.
Jenica's here. Josh will get his own episode when he decides to come, and I know
So we're
what's
gonna
going to
save
lure
that
him
for
out of
him.
the house.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
now, he's just an
We're just going to
honorable
act
mention.
like Brooks's, Brooksy Boo, that's my son. We're going to act like his 3D printer had a crisis, and we'll get them to the house to fix it. And they'll be like, just kidding, you're coming up the podcast.
I think that might be the only way we get him in here. So yes, and our girls, their similarities are
uncanny.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Like when I would babysit your kids, it warmed my heart to see Bobby just kind of explore her creativity and like different things. It was just allowing her to do all that, because that's one thing that I was really grateful for that my mom did, was not cage me in my creativity and bound me to certain limits with it. I mean, one day I found a ball of yarn and I wrapped it around my entire room like a spider web, and I showed her and I thought she would be like, take it down right now.
because I'm kind of a clean freak and that.
Kinda.
Well, okay, a lot.
Like,
so you were
clean
prepared.
freak, borderline OCD.
OCD, yeah, I might be a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So
We're
were
the
you
same.
scared to show me?
I was scared, but also very proud. So it's why I did. And she allowed me to keep it up for as long as I wanted, which lasted about a week until I got bored with it.
So you wrapped your
This-
entire room in yarn.
Oh, yeah.
She was obsessed with like knots and like just linking things together. I don't
Well, that
know.
makes sense because you and Bobby would always do like making bracelet crafts. Like
Mm-hmm.
Jenica, so she's in college now, but I still, every time I see her, I'm like, you still want to come back and babysit? You want a nanny? Because she was so amazing with Bobby. Because they would have a full on like science experiment in the kitchen, but I would never know about it. Because Jenica taught Bobby how to clean up.
Okay, so that's the part that
So they'd make slime, they'd make whatever, but I would never know. Because
Okay.
Jenica, I'd come home, Jenica would have the entire house clean. She'd have water bottles on my nightstand, my laundry folded perfectly.
she's come a
Wild Rose
long
Beauty
way.
orders.
I'm just gonna say
I'm just
she's
saying,
come a
this
long way.
OCD-ness.
Oh, no, it's the best of both worlds. Like the cleanliness is all my mom, but like the chocolates and waters, for sure my dad, without a doubt. For
Like
sure.
love language. So this is what I learned with Jenica, and having a creative daughter. It's messy. And I know that Whitney's told me like, oh my gosh, she's making messes all the time. And it's like, okay, I get that. But somebody once told me creative children have very messy rooms, but they're using their creativity, and that's really important. And so I tried to allow you to do that without it bothering me too much. I think the older I get, the more patience I have with things and less patience with others. But yeah, I'm glad now that I picked my battles with you. Like, and that one ended up being like a small battle. But I
So
have some
you
questions.
feel like Connie really won with like allowing you to be creative and expand that way.
Oh, and that was so important for like my growth and me as a person, because, you know, you get that itch for something, especially like creativity or just creating something. And if you're unable to do that in a safe space where you can fully explore, do whatever you imagine, it feels very limiting to what you can do as a person. So for my mom to let me just, you know, wrap my entire room in yarn and sit and tie knots for hours, like it really meant a lot to me because it was feeding me. And I don't know, just allowing that safe space to do so is so important. Like if you have a creative kid, they need to have like a space that's theirs, preferably with a shut door so you don't have to look at it, but because it'll be a mess.
Because
But
do you feel like your safe place, your creative space, it's your space. You're in control of it. It might look chaotic, but it makes perfect sense to you.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't have many decorations in my room because I am a minimalist, oddly enough, but anything in my room I've somehow decorated or created in some different type of way. And it's like every day I look at my room and I'm just like, this is me. Like, this is my art. This is my creativity. And I don't know. I love it. Like, that was one thing that I think about pretty often is how my mom allowed me to be me, because I was a weird kid.
Well, I always loved visiting because I met you. We've been friends for how long? You didn't drive yet.
No.
You were
How old
little.
are you?
You were like
It's been at
Bobby's
least-
age.
Yeah.
No, I was.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I always loved coming over to see how you decorated your room because it would always be different. Like you did that. What is that artwork on the wall?
Currently?
Is that what you have still? What is it called where you put the glue with the pictures?
Oh, like a collage.
Yeah.
Black and white collage.
But
of
what is that
photos.
called? It's
I don't know.
the glue
Oh, Mod Podge.
Mod Podge.
No, yeah. You Mod Podge.
Like
I
she
did let her Mod Podge.
Yeah, Mod Podge her room, or you like at different times had different like artwork hanging, just different things. You had a hammock at some point over your bed.
Oh my gosh, that was my favorite thing.
yeah.
A hammock just hanging over my bed. And I begged my parents to let me put it as high as they would allow me because I just wanted a space where I could sit other than my bed that was just like cheap and affordable. But yeah, no, my room is like my safe space, and I feel like a lot of kids feel that way. And so just allowing them to do what they wish to it, I mean, with limits.
Well, that's what I want to ask you because we don't get this luxury of like hearing from Jenica. How old are you now?
I'm 19.
19, and
Now she's a psych major. So she's studying this stuff. And it's so fascinating now to talk to her versus like, say, when she was like Bobby, Bobby's age, but also so much like Bobby. She has words for things or like just I don't know, the way that you see things now is a lot different.
you're able to like break it down and understand it. So I want to know this because I've noticed being present, like Connie, your mom and I, Connie, we call her Connie though. So everyone
her
should know
Connie.
this. Connie is her mom, but we call her Connie. We don't say your mom. We say Connie. It's just kind of a
No.
She calls me Connie.
She doesn't respond to mom. There was just this time in my life where I go, mom, mom, mom. Like,
tune
and she-
mom out. I don't know if
fully-
you ever did that, but I couldn't hear the word mom. I'm like,
Da, 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 da.
because sometimes I'm like, oh, they need me.
So I tried different versions of mom, none of them. So I was like, you know what, Connie. And she was like, what?
So yeah,
But-
my child calls me Connie.
So I want your perspective because I'm back when I met you with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You create these things and you have these moments, these things that you create, you're so proud of, and you like want your parents to acknowledge it and be proud of it. And how important is that? Because sometimes I feel like I like kind of fuck my kids up by not being present and like celebrating because I'm like, you just ruined the couch. Like our couch is done, but you are so proud of what you did. Like how much of that is like really important?
It means the world, honestly. And I've thought about this quite frequently. Just because your kids look at you for guidance with everything. I mean, to a degree, kids even place their self-worth off of their parents' image of them. And so say your kid did like draw or paint a mural on the couch, perfectly white, whatever, just fully messed it up. I mean, you really need to like calm yourself for a second and be like, wow, this is so beautiful. I love your art. I want to go get you some canvases, but in the future, can you ask me before? And also like, the couch it's in the living room. This is in my space. This is in the group space. And I love your artwork and I would love to have it forever. Like put it up on the walls and different things. Like definitely encourage creativity, but don't encourage, bad behavior. But definitely when anything I've showed my parents, I am waiting for their reaction kind of to see how I feel about it too, because I'm really proud in the moment, but I'm like, what do you think? And it really shifts the whole conversation.
I'll tell you,
and
as a
thought
parent,
process.
like it sounds really nice to be able to be cool, calm, and collect when you see your $10,000 couch get ruined or whatever it is, or anything in your space you feel like it
Or
got
just
ruined.
lose control.
Yeah, just lose control because like you can take your stress of the day and then you see like, oh my gosh, this massive mess or whatever it is, and you're like, ugh, and you just react. Like taking a breath is really important with kids. Taking a minute, trying to think about what they're thinking first. That's hard to do. It's hard to do for me. I think it's hard probably for most people
That's so-
in a moment.
Hey everyone, did you know that your favorite OG New Jersey housewife, Teresa Giudice, has a podcast?
It's called Namaste Bitches, and every Wednesday, Teresa and her co-host, Melissa Feaster, are bringing the sass, fun, real talk, and serious table flipping to you as they explore everything from life, love, and family to food and celebrity.
Their candid convos deliver plenty of drama, explosive energy, and attitude. So turn up the volume because things are about to get juicy Jersey style.
Download Namaste Bitches wherever you get your podcast.
Hearing Jenica's perspective is so helpful because we're like learning from your daughter. She's 19, but she's so wise.
She is.
And I do love how you framed that. It's like celebrate them, honor them, but teach them where the boundary is and like what's appropriate. So we talked with our friend Margot about like what experts say, like here's the suggestions on being a parent. But the truth is most of the time when we have kids, we are knocked up. No offense, but probably weren't planning you. Like you come to this,
No, she wanted me
this earth and there's no manual.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She wanted me 6 months later, but
Well, if I get in a perfect world.
So like
You came a little
we just
early.
talk a lot about like what the pressures are as a mom. You want everything to be perfect. I think the biggest fear is we don't want to mess our kids up.
Yeah. But the truth is there's no way to do it and not really mess them up because they're like you can parent two kids the exact same way. And they, because of their interpretation of how you're parenting and their life experiences, they're going to turn out completely different, even though you did everything the same.
yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, I love that you guys bring up perfection because I feel like this is something that parents don't know. And it's that your kids don't expect you to be perfect. I mean, like when I was younger, I kind of expected that because, I mean, you look at your parents as like heroes. Basically, you put them on this huge pedestal, and as you get older, they're more and more humanized. And so that kind of tones down. But I mean, definitely your kids do not expect perfection from you because we know ourselves that we're not perfect. How could we expect another to be that?
So where is that boundary? Like I love that you're saying this because I mean Connie and I just smiled at each other. It's like, wow, so profound. But like where is that boundary? Especially like because Bobby turns 13 in April. Brooks just turned 10 and we're shifting from like being little kids to my kids know about sex. They know about alcohol. They know about all of these things in the world. And I'm finding it really hard to balance that.
Oh, that's hard.
Because I'm not perfect.
Yeah, no.
But I want my kids, like, I think as a mom, you want your kids to have, like, the perfect experience, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But, I mean, there's a point where if you're pushing perfection so much, it almost does, like, an adverse effect, I feel like, where you're trying so hard to be perfect, but you have to really tone into your kids and like what they need, and also having open conversations. Like I feel like you should teach your kids how to drive as soon as possible. You should open them up to these experiences because they truly are more ready than you think. I mean, definitely don't open up to the entire world about like everything because it's overwhelming, but slowly add more and more on as you think your kids
can handle it or are ready.
And I mean, they can handle more than you think. I mean, when I was younger, I definitely was curious about things, so I was able to ask questions and kind of
the most
get
curious
feedback.
kid.
Yeah. Oh, so curious. One day my grandma made eggs sunny side up and I was like, how'd you do that? From an egg? They were scrambled. They're always scrambled. Now they look like that? How? And then she taught me every single way to make an egg. And I love that. Like, I don't know. It's truly just diversifying your kids to things will help them progress through life so much easier. Truly. I mean, because I've had a very diverse life. I feel like I was raised by a village of people. And
It's true. I always say it takes a village.
it does.
To raise a child. And if you have like close friends or family, like, fun fact, Jenica and I, we grew up in the same house. So, and how, that a little backstory on that, like when her dad and I got divorced, I moved back, we moved back in with my mom.
How old were you?
I was like 4 or 5. Like I was.
No, I think you were actually 7 and Josh was 9.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
No, because you guys got back
Oh,
together when I was 9.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, because I met her when she was like 12 or 13.
You were young.
I'm like
okay, it's a
freaking out
blur.
right now.
It's a blur. Yeah. But so we moved back in with my mom. And so Jenica got to, and my mom still lives in the same house that we grew up in. And so Jenica and I were, it just kind of like, I don't know how that came up. We were just talking about some memories, like of being a kid, and we realized, oh my gosh, we have some of the same memories of being a kid in the same house, which is so rare. And my mom's, she's like the sweetest ever, but like also she's very different as a grandmother as she was as a mom. But
oh my gosh, she has more time now. I mean, she raised me and Josh and your brother's kids.
yeah, because when you go through a divorce, you kind of have to, you're not fully present, unfortunately, when you go through that. And those are, actually, that was a time in my life that I felt like, oh my gosh, did I mess up my kids because I wasn't fully present and I had to rely on my mom and other people to help me through that, because I was a mess. I'll be honest, I was a mess. And when you came to me when you were older and you were like, Mom, I had the best childhood. All of a sudden, I just felt all this weight come off me. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't mess you up. I was going through hard things and I wasn't fully present and I for sure didn't do everything right. But like for you to say that you had a good childhood, and like that, I had a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm carrying all this guilt and I need to let it go. And yeah.
See, and that's beautiful for me because I have the outside perspective as your godmother. Watching your mom raise you was very different for me because I grew up much like your mom. Like I think,
much
just grew up
stricter.
different. Not as open, not as honest. And almost sometimes, I'll be honest, I would look at Connie and be like, you're really talking about that with Jenica? Like, we're doing this in front. Okay. Like, because I had like little kids at the time, like little kids. Now that my kids are older, I understand it more. But I have to say, Connie, like, I think a lot of that is just guilt you carry. Mm-hmm. Because hearing you and Jenica talk now, I'm sure it was hard. I'm sure Jenica's had to work through a lot of things. That's natural. Mm-hmm. I worked through things from my mom. Mm-hmm. But you have this beautiful relationship where it's so honest and open. And I'm sure at times it feels like it's too much as a daughter, or it might feel like too much as a mom. But it is beautiful, and I think that you have to realize that you taught your daughter how to grow up in the real world, like facing real problems.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, like when she was little, for some reason, and I did talk briefly about like, as a parent, you kind of know your kid, you're in tune enough with your kid. I mean, maybe not all parents are. I felt like I tried hard to be in tune. So I kind of knew what her personality or like what she could handle. And so I went off of that with like knowing how much I could share. Cause like at 14, we went through a really hard time. Like, and I wasn't as like open with her.
Why are you laughing?
That was a rough year.
Oh no, it
year.
was so rough. But to say that it was a little hard time. No, it was like a lot. I feel like
Perspective,
that was
right?
Oh,
parent and
this
child.
is why we're here. It's
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
oh,
sure.
for sure. And I feel like with parents sheltering their kids, they think that they're doing it for their own good. They're keeping these bad things away from their kids, which, yeah, you want to. But, I mean, I definitely know from watching my friends and their relationships with their parents and even just talking, having open conversations about it. If you hide things and you say, no, can't do that. Well, why? Because you can't. They're like, well, I'm going to go figure out why. If you won't tell me. So it leads to a lot more trouble.
What about the opposite, though? Like, I just went through this. We were just in Vegas a few weeks ago with our kids for soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And we were walking through the casino, and I'm going to put my son on the spot, but he had a panic attack. Because he's like, I hate the smell of cigarettes. Like, I don't like this environment. And I feel like I raised my kids pretty openly, but sheltered at the same time. Like, he's 10. Mm-hmm. And he started freaking out. And, well, like, Justin's like, okay, you take them back to the lobby. I'll go get our drink. And he was like, why do you have to have a drink?
Oh.
And we were like, because we have this coupon. And it's free. But, like, it actually, my question for you, though, get back on track, is, like, yeah, I get the openness. That's my goal. But, like, at what level? Like, do you, like, so we had this conversation with Brooks. He's like, yeah, it is annoying when we have to wait for you to go, like, to the bar or whatever. And I was like, oh, do you have a problem with alcohol? He's like, well, none of my friends' parents drink. And I was like, oh, okay. So is it more about that we're different and you're trying to understand that? Or is it about, like, am I being too open in front of my kids? Should I hide and drink, or should I keep drinking in front of my kids and teach them that this is what the majority of the world does? We just happen to live in a little bubble.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love how that conversation went, because I think that's exactly how you're supposed to handle it. But I definitely don't think that being too open with your kids. It must just be something with a trigger about it. Mm-hmm. Something that, because your kids see and understand so much more than you think. Because, I mean, we're just taking in the world around us, and we're very good at figuring things out just by looking at them. And especially when you know your parents so well, you can kind of feel shifts and changes, and it can make you feel uncomfortable or it can make you feel uneasy, but figuring out truly what that trigger is for your kids specifically is so important, because it shifts the conversation. Mm-hmm. And then you can talk about, what can I do to make you feel better? Because I don't want you to feel like this. But definitely, like, don't hide it.
Yeah, like the open, honest part is mommy and daddy are adults, and we can drink alcohol and we enjoy it from time to time or whatever, but digging a little, like peeling off a layer and trying to figure out, like, there is something that's bothering him though about it, and trying to address what the underlying issue is. You know what I mean? Instead of like, oh wait, like, I can't do this in front of him because it bothers him, and just stopping or hiding it. Then you're going to create a whole other set of issues.
Well, and you know me, I didn't let it go. And it really bothered me, because I don't like to see my kids upset. Like, I was like, okay, wait, because, no.
Let me understand this.
We got this with our room, because we were staying at a JW Marriott. We got these drink coupons, whatever. And, my husband, he loves a coupon.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a coupon?
It's like, we had to go, even if we didn't want to drink it, he just wanted to use the coupon. Yeah. But then I took a step back, and I brought it up to him later, and it was that we're different.
Yeah. And honestly,
I just am so used to, like, hanging out with all of you, where I'm used to Jenica just being so open to the world, Josh, Bobby, Brooks. Like, when we're together, it's like we're family, and that's familiar to us. Like, to the point where holidays, like, we spend our holidays together. Mm-hmm. But taking a step back, Brooks is in elementary school, and I'm much different than every mom in his class.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's my normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's like, well, this is who you are, and recognition is like everything, right? So then once you recognize it, it's like, okay, I recognize I'm different than other moms. but like, I'm not going to change who I am or dim who I am in certain ways. I'm going to help him understand. We're going to get to like where we can I can get on his level and like see what he's seeing and then help him like understand why. And so like, even though other little kids might not, I mean, they only know what they see, and that's their parents that maybe are like, don't do the same things. So,
Well, and what ended up coming from the conversation was that one of his friends pointed out that we have alcohol in our home.
oh yeah.
And so he thought it was annoying because people are calling him out for it. And so that's when I'm just like, Jenica, what do I do? Like, I know
Right.
you're 19, but like you lived through this. And I want my kids to be empowered to be different, to be like, yeah, my parents drink, but they're old. Like,
Yeah, they're adults.
They're adults. They get to choose that. And I know, like, my kids, they know that they're not allowed to. They're not old enough.
No, I think that, I mean, elementary school is such an interesting age because kids are so mean, first off, but you realize that if you're different, you're gonna be an outcast. Literally, and at my elementary school, all the popular girls, they all did gymnastics, they all looked the same, they all acted the same, like to a T, where they were basically carbon copies of each other. And I was so different that I stuck out like a sore thumb. And so once I switched schools, I we had to wear uniforms and everything, so everybody was basically the same. And I realized if I want to have friends, maybe I have to tone that down a bit. And then I kind of acclimated to my environment, trying to fit myself in. But I also lost what I loved about myself, which, like, my funky outfits and my kind of hectic, curious demeanor just kind of diminished because I then began to think that it was weird because it wasn't normal. And so kids will be doing anything and everything they can to fit in.
Just to fit in, yeah. And I think he's definitely at that age that you don't want to stand out. I remember when you went through that, Jenica, like, because she'd wear the funkiest.
Was this elementary?
Yeah, elementary school. And when
Because
she
I
was
still want
around
to know
10,
what happened at 14.
Yeah. Oh, we got to get back to that really
I
fast.
don't know what
Yeah.
time we're at, but we got to get to 14, age 14.
Yeah, this was 5th grade right
But
now.
finish your thoughts.
Yeah. So, I do remember like when you lost that like unique, like little funky, different self and you wanted to just fit in. But I think that happens to everyone
Absolutely.
at a certain age where you don't want things that make you stand out. So Brooks probably has, he has a mom who is different than some other moms, and somebody pointed that out, and that felt like, oh, I don't want that to stand out. I want her to be like everyone else's mom, so no one talks about it, right? So
For sure.
yeah, I think that's normal.
Yeah, and I mean, that phase I feel like ends pretty quick. Once you get into middle school, then everybody's just weird. Everybody's just going through it. And so everybody kind of eases up on each other a little bit.
Yeah,
Well-
which brings us to 14, middle school.
14. Cause
So middle school, Jenica pulled back, and I think a lot of girls pull back from their moms around middle school age. And she pulled back, and I think I had some friends, like when I say it takes a village, it really does, because I had some friends that had already been through that, and they were prepping me. So I was like kind of ready for it. So Jenica pulls back and gets in with like a group of friends, and they're all smoking weed together and everything. And I don't really know about it until we had foreign exchange kids come and live with us. Can I share this? I guess I'm sharing it.
Yeah.
And one of them told me that, hey, just so you know, Jenica's hanging out with these friends and they're smoking weed. And I was like, what?
Yeah, no, it was, I don't know, that age.
I mean, you're
is
14.
Really,
Yeah.
no, it's so hard. Like,
That's hard.
looking back on it, I just think, like, bless her heart. Like, I was really going through it just because you have these hormones and you don't know how to deal with it. You just feel uncomfortable in your own body, and you feel like overloaded with feelings and different things. And you're just trying to figure out yourself and life, and it's
Fitting
a
in still.
lot. Yeah, no, it's really a lot. And my friend group quickly shifted into this group of kind of bad kids. And one day they just asked me like, hey, we're all smoking. Do you want to? And I was like, sure. And so then I did. And then it began to kind of every day after school. And I was just doing it because all my friends did it. And
I'll tell you what, though,
it.
she kind of hid it so kids can hide this stuff pretty easy.
Which, by the way, this isn't singular to you. Like,
Oh, yeah.
this is happening now.
All the time.
I've heard of family members, friends, where kids are like 12.
Yeah. Like younger and younger.
Like, I've had these conversations with Bobby of like what to do in the situation if you're asked, because it's already happening.
No, it makes me so nervous to see my cousins, who I look at as like my little siblings, because I'm the youngest, and it's so weird because all of a sudden it's like they're talking about all these different things, and it's social media too, like TikTok, and it makes even me nervous. But it's truly about having like an open conversation, because if I would have known more about like smoking, I would have never tried it. Like,
but at that point, I didn't even think it was an option. I didn't think
Yeah,
that was
that
something
wouldn't
that
cross
she
your
was
mind as a
doing
mom.
yet. Yeah. So as open as I am as a parent, I was like, I thought maybe that was a 16-year-old conversation or whatever. You know, I didn't think it was a 14-year-old conversation until it was. But wherever your kid is at, and I think that, at least for us, I feel like educating your kids and telling them the whys is the most important thing. Because like, just because is not an answer. Just because I said so, that's not an answer.
yeah, no. And I like to think about teaching your kids about these things, kind of like how I just took a class last semester, and it was called Life, Society, and Drugs. And it was such a unique and exciting class for me, because they weren't telling me not to do it. They weren't telling me don't do this. They were just laying out the cold
hard facts.
Yes.
It's something
Yes.
about the mic. Like, it messes with your brain.
Oh, no, it really does. But it just laid it out in such a way that it wasn't trying to persuade me, but educate me. And it took like such a switch. Like, I've never wanted to try other drugs, truly. But I just thought it was so unique how they weren't pushing me to think in a certain way or telling me what to do. They're just like, this is about the drug. This is what it feels like when you take it. These are some side effects, and these are the long-term effects. And some things were like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. Yeah. But then there was so much bad. Like, I don't know. I think if you're going to teach your kids about things, it's truly laying out the facts. And it's also so scary right now with how much fentanyl is in drugs, especially weed. And I mean, thinking about the weed that I used to smoke, it's exactly as you'd imagine weed that a 14-year-old could get.
Yeah.
Who knows what's in it?
Yeah. It might have just been hay.
Or oregano.
Oh,
Like, that's, I mean,
knows?
well, like, thank you for being so open and honest. But, like, do you ever feel like parents can be too open? Because then you see kids where there's, like, no boundaries, no rules, no, like, and it almost has the reverse effect. Either they grow up tainted to the world or they grow up reckless.
yeah. I think my mom nailed this spot on without even trying, really. She scared me so bad. When she caught me smoking, she found me with a whole ounce of weed. I don't even know why I bought that much. It was only $40. So
All the friends pitched in, maybe.
oh no, just me.
Oh,
Yeah. But
babysitting money.
I was gonna say, did I pay you that $40?
No, it was probably just birthday money or something.
I'm not laughing.
We're not going to attach you to it.
But yeah, what did she do?
She sat me down and she was like, look what I got. And I was like, my life is over. And I was actually really surprised because she didn't ground me. Like, you didn't punish me in any way, but you just said, hey, this is what is going to continue from here on out. Now that I am aware of what you're doing, I'm going to do random drug tests. And if a single one comes up positive, your door is coming off your room. I'm taking all of your clothes except for 3 outfits you'll have in rotation. And I was like, don't take my clothes. Don't take my door. Like,
Like zero privacy at that point.
Yeah, no, it scared me so bad that I truly didn't smoke again until I did. Because I went away for 2 weeks and I was like, yes, this is my opportunity. I'm going to be away from her. I can smoke. And then, like, once I get back, I'll be clean. And I ended up, I didn't even smoke it. I just cracked open a dab cart and I ate it. I felt instantly high and I was high for 3 days. Pure misery. Like, I will never smoke, like, to this day, just because of how bad it was. I remember praying to God. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I knew I shouldn't have done this. I'm so stupid. But it really just, that's what did it for me.
Then you scared yourself.
I scared myself.
So that's the boundary, is like you educate your kids, but there is a consequence.
Yeah, there's consequence.
And if you can choose to do it, but this is how you'll live under my roof.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's great. That's like great advice because you can't just tell kids no anymore. Like, it's just not how the world works.
Right.
No, yeah.
With iPhones,
Right.
green light cards, access to everything.
For real.
Yeah, no, it's so scary to me to see what I'm seeing on TikTok, and I'm like, my little cousins are seeing this. Like, the things that they talk about, to me, I'm like, no, why are you talking about this? Like, that's not cool. I try to really be that person because they really look up to me, and it's not cool. But at that age, it is something that's cool, and it sucks. But your kids will grow out of it, but definitely having like a stern like threshold over your kids, being like, this is what will happen, and expect it too if you do this. It's a lot harder with alcohol. And I see that from like friends or just stories of people who, like, kids that have a curfew and their parents making them come home and they've been drinking. So then they drive home drunk because they have to get home or else they're going to get in trouble. Not even for drinking, but just because they have a curfew.
And their parents don't know?
No clue.
How do you hide that?
It's...
Like, how do your friends... I know you don't do that, but, like, how do your friends hide that? Like, that's...
Yeah, they portrayed 2 different
I was
images.
a Molly Mormon. So.
Yeah, those are the ones that you typically have to kind of look out for, I've realized. It's the ones that portray a perfect image to their parents to not cause any suspicions, but truthfully, they are behind closed doors, going out, drinking, having sex, like, doing all of it. Like, and I don't do any of that. Like,
yeah,
honestly.
I think that's the hard thing though, is like realizing, like, I grew up like you, Whitney. Like, we grew up like super Mormon, and like, if you did anything, you definitely didn't want your parents to know. You didn't want to get in trouble for it. But to listen to like these stories of these kids just getting home, like, or I can't even leave my car somewhere so that I can Uber home because then my parents will question me, where's your car? Why'd you have to leave it? And then it turns into this whole thing. So they take their chances and they risk their life and everyone else on the road just to get home, just so they don't get in trouble. But it's like, so I don't know. It's it's tough because they, those parents really want to enforce their boundaries with their kids and their rules in their house, but also, it sometimes can create other things too when you're not open and honest. But it's hard to be open and honest with your parents.
Well, I think it's in a perfect world, it'd be, I know I wasn't supposed to do this, Mom, but I did.
Yeah.
Well,
in a perfect world.
I need help getting home. So it's like, how do you create that world?
Actually,
because that doesn't
my
really
parents
exist. Because
Right.
if you're going to have boundaries and enforce rules,
Right.
but then you want your kids to be open.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's all about positive reinforcement. So my parents came up with this system like, hey, we have our rules, but all of that, like, it will be set aside if you need help. They said just text us an X. We'll know that it's like serious. We'll come and pick you up. No questions, nothing. We just want you to be safe and we won't get mad.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Because we were like, okay, we don't agree with you like drinking at 16, 17, we don't agree with that. So, but if you're trapped somewhere and you need to get out for whatever reason, yeah, just text me an X and I'll be like, okay, what's your address? And I will not ask you any questions, even though my mind is going to go crazy. But I will know that I got you home safe. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, no, I feel like we could talk about this for hours. And I really love that about both of you. I think that's why you're my best friend and I'm your godmother.
Absolutely.
You're just really appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability, because I think that that's what Connie and I are trying to do here, is just create the conversation and let people know it's okay. Like, you got to have it. And I think that you're an amazing human being. And Connie, you didn't mess her up. Oh. She's a beautiful, smart, intelligent, well-adjusted, diverse 19-year-old. And I'm just proud of both of you.
Thank you.
And I want you to hang around for a second, because next week we have to end here. But we can do a part 2.
Oh, absolutely.
But we actually are going to bring on my kids next week. So...
Yes.
It'll be a little bit of an different dynamic, but...
so we can hear from them and what they think of, like, at this point in time, at their age, how they're viewing things, and just check in with them. It'll be fun.
It's just it's cool to have the full spectrum of watching a child develop, because I came into your life when you were around Bobby's age. Oh, yeah. We don't know exactly when. Yeah. But it was around the time. Yeah. So... All right. Well, I love you both. You're doing a beautiful job as a mother and as a daughter.
Oh, thank you. We're lucky. We're lucky that we have each other in this life.
Yep.
That's for sure.
So, and as a reminder, we love our listeners. We always we wouldn't be here without all of you. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. But just a reminder, always be you, stay honest, and stay wild.